How true is this? How is Rogan so brainwashed? Inclusion. He loves the positive attention. Is it me or is it weird that Elon Musk owns a one-letter domain, x.com, featuring the letter X as the totality of its content? This was 2 or 3 years ago. And its reverse DNS pings from an IP in Khabarovsk, Russia. Is that still true to this day, or was this old? The domain x.com is hosted in Russia, LOL. What does it mean for a domain to be hosted somewhere? Does this mean like just like the website is hosted somewhere, or how old are these records? The registrar? Oh, who the f cares? Okay. This guy got his game removed off Steam for insulting Keffels. Dominant developer is now posting transphobic messages on their patch notes after a recent ban from their own. This is 3 years old. Why are you linking me this? Okay. Oh! Wait. 3:11 p.m. She's a... Thank you, Kathy Hochul. Hell yes. At the state level, the governor's office is directing the NYSDPS, NYSERDA, and New York State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services to conduct an expeditious review of these tariffs' impacts and provide a transparent accounting of their effects on energy prices and supply reliability. Specifically, this review will include 1. A comprehensive analysis of how these tariffs will increase costs for electricity, natural gas, heating fuels, and other essential energy sources across the state. 2, an assessment of supply chain vulnerabilities, particularly for communities in the North Country and other areas with limited alternatives. 3, a clear evaluation of the impact on ratepayers and businesses, including expected price increases and affordability concerns. 4, a review of New York's contingency plans in the event that Canada retaliates by restricting energy exports. And 5, they only had 4 on this, and then they watched my stream before they put this letter out. Number 5, an examination of the feasibility of adding a one-line Trump tariff cost indicator on utility bills, ensuring that New Yorkers can see exactly how much this federal policy is costing them each month. Based. Yes. People of New York deserve transparency and accountability. We urge NYS, DPS, NYSERDA, and DHSES to complete an initial analysis within 7 days with a full report and recommendations to follow. Hell yes. God, these people need more social media reach. Is she the one that did the Democrat counter or whatever? Is it Hochul? Or was that somebody else? No, what was the name of the person that did the counter? I don't want to say State of the Union. The counter joint. Oh, Slotkin. What are these fucking names, bro? Senator from Michigan. Okay. Sorry, fuck. I can't copy paste between my fucking computers. It's Hochul, not Hochul. Hochul. Okay. She's the one who responded to Trump trying to undo congestion pricing in New York City. The cameras stay on. Gotcha. Shalom Mahmoud. Why are we... God, oh my God. ICE proudly apprehended and detained Mahmoud Khalil, a radical foreign, a U.S. national, you mean, right? Pro-Hamas student on the campus of Columbia University. This is the first arrest of many to come. What do you think MAGA would do if Europe just fucked up Russia? It would always be good. The outcome is always good. If MAGA, if Europe loses to Russia, loses to Russia could mean a lot, but if Europe ends up losing to Russia in any way, then the argument will be this is why we shouldn't have supported them. Europe is weak. We don't need to support them. It's good that we're leaving the weak behind. If Europe defeats Russia, then MAGA would say, oh, look, it's a good thing that we let them be more independent. Now they've acquired the strength to do what they didn't even need us to do. So they could have done it all the whole time. You know, no matter what happens, it'll always be good for MAGA. There's always a way to twist it into a good thing. Always. Dude, the White House website has gotten so fucking unhinged. Holy shit. Don't ever go to that website. Oh my god. It's actually unreal. Okay, I'm just clicking right now. I haven't read anything today yet. 50 wins in 50 days. President Trump delivers for Americans. Is there anything unhinged here? The winning never stops, and President Trump is just getting started. Fox News correspondent Bill Malugan. If Fox were to send me down there right now, I would have trouble finding a single migrant on camera.
After spending years down there to see the numbers the way they are now, I knew they were going to go low. Never could I imagine this low. Where VP Vance was in Eagle Pass the other day, December 2023, when things were at their all-time worst, you were getting like 3,000 to 4,000 crossings there a day. There were just 14 there the other day. Yeah. If Fox were to send me down there right now, I'd have trouble finding a single migrant on camera. Completely different than what we're used to. So, I mean, after spending years down there to see the numbers.
Are you using RDP for remote connections? If yes, check under local resources to see if the clipboard checkbox is ticked or not. I mean, I don't have it open right now. Do you think opposing Lee of your viewpoints to get ahead of defending your views or to determine or decided your overall views? I hope that makes sense. Yeah, of course. You always should know both arguments, both sides of an argument for anything you believe in. President Trump's tariffs are leveling the playing field for American workers. He's taking on the fentanyl crisis. President Trump has secured billions of dollars in new U.S.-based investments. Apple announced a historic $500 billion investment. I wonder when the first of these was announced, if it was because of the CHIPS Act. I wonder if when they were writing this page, they told him to not have any timelines listed on any of this stuff, or like when it started, so that it would be good for the Trump suck up.
Xenophobic nationalism, don't you think that's better for Americans in general? Culture.
Why would you link me a clip of a full video that we just watched? Have you heard of the October 7th attacks? True. Oh yeah, this was one of them. I was looking 2 days ago though, but there's like a lot of just unhinged language. The fake news losers at CNN immediately tried to fact check it, but President Trump was right, as usual. There's just like unhinged language in so many of these. ICYMI, companies eye U.S. expansion to lessen fallout from potential tariffs. Sunday shows the golden age of America is here. Thank God. On Democrats' disgusting behavior during his joint address. You don't even need news websites anymore. You can just read everything right at whitehouse.gov. This is my state media. Finally, yes. For those who are curious, I work 5 minutes from the American border, and I see at least 10 plus stop transport trucks a day that are getting inspected by our cops. We are doing our part. Good for you. This isn't Joe Biden's world anymore. This is President Donald Trump's country. Yeah, we know. The election is like months over. We're aware of that. Hello? It's like they have to keep reminding everybody. In just 1 month alone, after losing 110,000 manufacturing jobs, we made 10,000 in February alone. Why is that a good thing? Okay. Okay. Good job. Press gaggle by President Trump. Oh, is that just a... What is a gaggle? Sounds like a negative thing. Does that just mean like a meeting, basically, or an interview, I guess? Or a gaggle of reporters talking to somebody? A group. Wait, where were we at? We'll never tire of winning under President Trump. Thank God. The winning never stops as President Donald J. Trump and his admin continue to make progress, reversing the damage of the past 4 years and shepherding the country into its new golden age. Wow. I feel like when you ask people why they chose Trump or Kamala and they can't give an actual or factual answer, you're hesitant to assume there might be an underlying racist or sexist bias for a lot of these people, and you don't call them out on purpose. Not that they are racist intentionally, but the bias makes it somebody saying it, don't you? Maybe. I don't know. It's just not worth it to even call it out. But I hope I've demonstrated in the last, like 3 conversations. It is pretty crazy. I think for all 3 of my last conversations, when I'm pointing out, like, here's a bad thing, here's a bad thing, here's a bad thing, here's a bad thing. Why don't you like Kamala? It eventually comes down to like, well, wokeness. It's like, really? And these are like educated people I'm talking to. And they're like, well, what about the wokeness? A new study found President Trump's deregulation efforts since taking office have saved Americans $180 billion. President Trump claims $180 billion savings for Americans through deregulation efforts. Wait, what? So far, Trump saved a family of 4 $2,100 by stopping these proposed regulations, according to a report exclusively given to the National News Desk from the White House. Based. The whitehouse.gov links to a news site saying there was a study saying that President Trump saved Americans $180 billion. And then when you click through to the website, the study is just the White House saying it happened. A report exclusively given to the National News Desk from the White House. What even is the National News Desk? What the fuck is this? Why are they getting anything exclusively from the White House? What? Oh, Jesus. Can we get a different webpage top here? Jeez. Public service loan forgiveness. Wait, what? Restoring public service loan forgiveness. It sounds like he's making it so they can forgive student loans again or something, but it sounds like he's just using this to take away loans that have already been forgiven? Wait, hold on. In 2007, the Congress established the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program to encourage Americans to enter the public service sector by promising to forgive the remaining student loans after they completed 10 years of service in those jobs while making 10 years of minimum payments. The prior admin abused the PSLF program through a waiver process using taxpayer funds to pay off loans for employees still years away from their statutorily required number of payments. Moreover, instead of alleviating worker shortages and necessary occupations, the PSLF program has misdirected tax dollars into activist organizations that not only fail to serve the public interest, but actually harm our national security and American values, sometimes through criminal means. The PSLF program also creates perverse incentives that can increase the cost of tuition, can load students in low-need majors with unsustainable debt, and may push students into organizations that hide under the umbrella of a nonprofit designation. Oh, the NGOs. Those evil nonprofit NGOs, careful. Degrade our national interests, thus requiring additional federal funding to correct the negative societal effects caused by these organizations' federally subsidized wrongdoing. As President of the U.S., I have a duty to protect, preserve, and defend the Constitution and our national security, which includes ending the subsidization of illegal activities, including illegal immigration, human smuggling, child trafficking, pervasive damage to public property. What the fuck? And disruption of the public order, which threatens the security and stability of the United States. Accordingly, it is the policy of my administration that individuals employed by organizations whose activities have a substantial illegal purpose shall not be eligible for public service loan forgiveness. Okay. Shall propose revisions to the program in coordination with the Secretary of the Treasury as appropriate that ensure the definition of public service excludes organizations that engage in activities that have a substantial illegal purpose, including aiding or abetting violations of 8 U.S.C. 1325 or other federal immigration laws. I wonder what that means. Supporting terrorism, including by facilitating funding to or the operations of cartels designated as foreign terrorist organizations, or by engaging in violence for the purpose of obstructing or influencing federal government policy. Child abuse, including the chemical and surgical castration or mutilation of children, or the trafficking of children to so-called transgender sanctuary states. Okay. Engaging in a pattern of aiding and abetting illegal discrimination. Is that code word for DEI? Or engaging in a pattern of violating state tort laws, including laws against trespassing, disorderly conduct, public nuisance, vandalism, and obstruction of highways. Jesus. Have you seen the video of the relay runner beating her teammate with a baton? Wait, what?
Turned now to an attack during a high school track and field relay race. One runner hit another in the head with a baton. Janae Norman here with the story. Good morning, Janae.
Hey, George, this is a crazy video that you have to see. It's unimaginable, unsportsmanlike conduct on the track. This morning, a high school track star is still recovering nearly a week after being hit on the head by another runner during a race.
Junior Kaylin Tucker was running the second leg of the 4x200 relay in the Virginia State High School League Championships when the shocking incident happened.
That's when she hit me with...
Wait, what?
State High School League Championships when the shocking...
Wait, why?
...incident happened.
That's when she hit me with the baton.
Watch again as you see the two sprinters running side by side as they round the corner with Kaylin on the outside, Kaylin's mother cheering her on. Just as Kaylin is passing the other runner, the athlete swings her baton, striking Kaylin.
I just felt a bang on my head, and then I fell off the track immediately.
Kaylin dropping her baton and reaching for her head.
The whole Coliseum pretty much gasped. I just jumped up out of the bleachers immediately and ran to her on the main floor.
The 16-year-old was later diagnosed with a concussion. The family says neither the athlete who struck Kaylin nor the other team's coaches checked on Kaylin or reached out afterwards.
To see that they kept running and she not stopped and check on my daughter, that was the part I was like, it couldn't have been an accident.
The other runner, who attends IC Norcom High School, has not been named. Kaylin's parents say Norcom's athletic director and the girl's father apologized in a phone call, but they're still waiting for the opposing athlete and her coaches to reach out.
We definitely want the coaches and a personal apology from the actual athlete as well, because it's only right.
The Virginia High School League saying in a statement, "We thoroughly review every instance like this," adding, "The VHSL membership has always made it a priority to provide student athletes with a safe environment for competition."
Meanwhile, Caitlin's parents
This is 100% a thing Pisco would do. What does that comment mean? What?
say that they're still waiting to see what disciplinary actions will be taken against the other athlete before deciding their next steps. In the meantime, guys, because Caitlin's been recovering for a week, they're hoping that she can finally return to school today.
Oh,
She's been out recovering.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Glad she's okay.
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
$1.7 trillion has been wiped out from the U.S. stock market today. Based. Oh, nice. Matt Walsh is coming out to defend Chauvin as well. When did the Daily Wire just decide this is going to be our thing? We're going to be the Chauvin defenders? Is there a meeting on this? And Jeremy was like, all right, guys, we need to leave our mark.
Trump has done.
Oh, our Russian asset? Okay.
Donald Trump has done an amazing thing. He turned the GOP into the party of the working class, and working class voters love tariffs because they make their labor more rewarding for them. They get the American working class higher wages, which they can then use in the marketplace to compete against elites and to actually achieve the American dream. President Trump is teaching a generation of Republicans and business leaders how to build an amazing economy that will lift all boats, that will lift working class people as well as the stock market, and that will give the GOP a ruling majority for years and years to come.
She was on Bloomberg today. How does she get on anything? She's literally just a random no-name like Russian asset. It's just here to copy-paste Russian talking points, always, on everything.
An economy based on love of country that will make America into the powerhouse of manufacturing, the superpower that it used to be. And I cannot get over the chutzpah of these business leaders sitting there whining about their quarterly reports while President Trump teaches them how to build an economy based on love of country and love of your neighbor. We should be listening and watching and saying thank you rather than whining and moaning.
So, Steve.
Did you debate this lady last year? Yes. I'm glad too, because I think at the end, I told her, I was like, I hate people like you. You're the worst type of person ever. I'm glad I said it.
Everybody has feelings. So you're physically hurt, but you're not thinking of my mental, right? They're going off of one angle. A couple times hit her my baton, got stuck behind her
This was added. This must have been added.
back like this, and it rolled up her back. I lost my balance, and when I pumped my arms again, she got hit. I know my intentions, and I would never hit somebody on purpose. They're assuming my character, calling me ghetto, racist slurs, death threats, all of this just because of a 9-second video. Everybody has feelings. So you're
Jesus. Even the dogs are shooting us now? What the fuck is going on? Man shot by dog in Fraser, police say. Didn't this happen a long time ago too? Or not a long time ago, like a few months ago, where there was like a dog who managed to pull the trigger of a gun in like the back seat and shot and killed a guy?
This is breaking news.
24, we want to get you to some breaking news just out of our newsroom here at Fox 13. A man is in the hospital after being shot in the leg overnight. Memphis police say he was shot by his dog. Seriously. I don't think that's right. This happened just before 4 a.m. at a home on Whitney Avenue in Fraser.
While relaxing and talking, the victim's dog jumped on the bed and got his paw stuck in the trigger guard and ended up hitting the trigger. The victim was then grazed in his top left thigh.
Wow. Police say the man was lying in the bed with a girl with a gun on the bed. Police say his dog jumped up on the bed, got his paw stuck in the trigger, and ended up hitting the trigger, shooting the man in the thigh. Wow. He is expected to be okay. I thought surely that was a...
This is literally a 30 Rock clip.
Hey, Cece. We're having a barbecue tonight. You're welcome to come. Thanks. Maybe I will.
Get the gun away from the dog.
Hey, hon, have you seen my hunting rifle?
Last time I saw it, the dog had it.
What is wrong with you people?
I'm going to get into politics.
Okay. Oh, God. Which one? Okay, apparently have Pisco arguing with Dr. Avi. I'll be back 1 sec.
Got a beer. I'm ready to talk to Avi.
Oh boy.
Let's pause the music. Sorry. First of all, how you guys doing? Before I get started. Mark Carney is going to be the new Canadian PM. I saw that. I saw a pretty base speech of his where he's like, yeah, we're going to keep these tariffs on until the Americans treat us with respect. Couldn't agree more. I'm so tired of like countries giving optical wins to Trump. So I totally support the Canadians in standing up for themselves. What beer am I drinking? It's from a friend of mine, Brooklyn Brewery. So hope you guys are doing good. We're going to talk to Dr. Avi because he has, I think, a curious take perhaps on the recent arrest of a Columbia student, a green card holder. So just by way of background, for those of you who aren't aware, green card holders are what's known as lawful permanent residents. And contrary to what you might see on my feed, responding to idiots, they're not like temporary holders of like a visa. They're here permanently to stay. In fact, if they're not in the country for like more than a year, their green card goes away. So the news that came out was that a green card holder has been detained. His lawyers don't know where he is. And the purported basis of rescinding the green card from our illustrious Secretary of State, Mr. Marco Rubio, is on the basis of him, I guess, supporting Hamas, which of course is the militant terrorist organization in charge of, well, I guess that's the whole thing, isn't it? Of Gaza in Israel, or next to Israel. That's the whole thing. But yeah, I think he's going to have some maybe interesting takes or questions perhaps on the First Amendment and its implications for this case, for the little that we know about it, and potentially some disagreement as well. Dr. Avi is someone I typically respect in terms of his acumen and intellect. We'll see. He obviously supports Israel very strongly, I'll say. And yeah, but always a pleasure talking to him. So I'll give him a call right now, unless you guys have any questions. First of all, love all the support. You guys are killing it. Already tons of you watching. I should collab with Jola. I've talked to him about it. I have a very bizarre schedule this last 2 weeks. We're moving to a new kind of situation in the next couple weeks, which hopefully will be more consistent, giving you guys shit. But needless to say, apologies for the delays. But I'm back in the city. Blue guys rise up. New emotes, new alerts, all that good stuff. So I'm going to give Dr. Avi a call and hope you guys enjoy it. First, from Ziggy, this is one of the more gross things I've seen from the administration. A personal attack on a green card holder is comically evil. It's par for the course. I mean, they told you they're going to rescind citizenship. So, and they're going to deport U.S. citizens to Guantanamo Bay. So this administration is a degenerate form of government. And so it should come as no surprise that they're trying this bullshit. But let's call Dr. Avi. And you let me know if you can hear him all right. Hey, Avi, how are you?
I'm doing awesome. How you been?
Doing good. I just want to make sure everyone can hear Avi first before we get started. Everyone sounds okay?
Right. Can everyone hear me?
Let me put you up just a little bit because I see you're not as high as me. So try talking now, Avi.
Am I a little bit higher now?
I think you should be higher. Doing well. My
fellow
New Yorker. Crazy about this Mayor Adams thing, huh?
Yes. Oh.
Nuts. Our cities. Yeah, it's fucked up. I don't know. I think it's probably one of the most corrupt things that a president has ever done vis-a-vis the Department of Justice. It's so blatantly, in my opinion, like an abuse of power. But I honestly don't know what's going to happen. I think Cuomo's going to clean his clock in the primary. But I never count out my enemies. And I would consider Mayor Adams an enemy now until they're gone.
He's going to get away with it.
In terms of criminal, yeah, I think he's going to get away with it. But the question is, will he stay in power? I think we have kind of spineless Democrats in New York who aren't willing to like throw out when they have the power to do so a very obviously corrupt mayor. This is Kathy Hochul. And I think it shows. I think it shows that people don't trust Democratic leadership because they're feckless and gutless, and they don't stand up for their principles. And I put our Democratic leader from New York, Hakeem Jeffries, in that camp, and I put Chuck Schumer, our Democratic Senate leader from New York, in that camp, and I certainly put Kathy Hochul right now in that camp for failing to even call on the mayor to resign. I think it's shameless.
You know, if it doesn't work out, we could all just sit and hold up our lollipop-shaped snivel signs and sulk. You know,
dude, that was so pathetic. It was such a ludicrous display of incompetence and just like optic weakness. Yeah. Just don't show up or keep interrupting or just sit there and stare at him and don't like avoid his gaze. I just thought anyone who's coping and saying that was like a good response or a good middle ground, I think is just, they don't understand how people think. I feel like same thing with the kid with cancer. I thought that was actually like why it's kind of funny. Like he's a kid with cancer. He's a Secret Service agent. And I understand like, yeah, Trump is cutting funding for cancer and that makes it kind of sinister, but they're all kind of sinister. And all these politicians always do this in these speeches. And so I think it's a little bizarre for Democrats to
it's the whole trick. Every speech has this because you can't, it's the classic trap because you can't show your dissent toward the example without looking like an asshole.
Exactly.
But most people don't actually fall for the trap and actually look like an asshole because there's ways of not looking like an asshole while showing dissent to the policy. Like, for example, you can clap for the kid while turning your back on the president. No one's going to think so turn your back,
100%.
Show your dissent to the president, clap for the kid, and then turn back to the president and dissent. Or no one's going to think because you clap for the kid, you're supporting the policies behind it.
Yeah, it's so stupid for everyone who's like, no, we couldn't clap for the kid because then people would think that we support Republicans. No, what makes me think you support Republicans is when you don't call on corrupt Democrats who are supported by Republicans to resign within your own party. What makes me think you support Republicans is when you vote for the censure of your own candidates. What makes me think that you are like Republicans is when you like vote to nominate or vote to confirm the Republican-endorsed nominations.
They all got through,
office.
didn't they?
Yeah, they all did. Well, save for Maddie Gates. But I predicted they would all get through because, I mean, it's as far as I'm concerned, they're all having to face only one test at this point, which is loyalty to Trump. And everyone's kind of being funneled through that. What's it called when there's just one little stopgap right before everything else? It's fuck. You know what I'm talking about? Where there's I can't even say the word. Anyway, it's if you don't show loyalty, you're immediately nixed from his administration. And everyone, despite their ideological difference, is willing to show loyalty, whether that's Tulsi Gabbard, whether that's RFK Jr. You know, these are people who run the gamut in terms of ideology, but because they're all loyal to Trump, they get through.
Have they brought up the Israel thing yet, or? I don't think I heard it.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Well, I've seen this. In terms of the topic, I've seen this thing go around. I've seen.
Sorry, the word is bottleneck. Someone put it in there.
Oh, bottleneck.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that's the determining.
Yeah. So you saw me tweeting. I saw you tweeting about. It's kind of like this when two ships pass. I saw you talking about it as well. Do you want me to give a little background, or would you like some background on what's happening?
Yeah. No, I'd like to know because look, you're the lawyer on this. You may not be a constitutional lawyer, but you're certainly more trained on this than I am. So yeah, like what's the situation? I saw this thing pop up, and I have some preliminary understanding of what could happen. I don't really know what's going to happen, or but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so there was news earlier today that a student who goes to Columbia, which right now is, as I'm sure you're aware, the epicenter of controversy with respect to demonstrations on campus in favor of Palestine, some might say in favor of Hamas. I think we should start this by saying I hate Hamas, and I think, Avi, you know that. I'm not a fan of terrorists. I'm certainly not a fan of Islamists.
Sorry, hold on.
Position, what are you doing in the government? There was a cyber attack on X today, which shut it down and may have been foreign sourced. Yes. It's a big story. You want to give us a moment on that?
Well, we're not sure exactly what happened, but there was a massive cyber attack to try to bring down the X system with IP addresses originating in the Ukraine area.
Oh, well, so that's your suspicion. Is the website
Like, if you think about what a DDoS is, it doesn't even make sense. And I legit don't think he even knows what it is or what it means. He's a fucking retard. Elon Musk is not a smart person. But obviously it's just a... Can you explain? What do you mean? He's blaming Ukraine for the DDoS attack, even though there's no evidence of this now. It's like... Okay, sorry. I'm here. What?
And I think that, Hamas has immiserated the people in Gaza, and I think the polling even in Gaza reflects that reality. So I am no fan, no friend of Hamas. If you knew me in college, you knew I was writing very critically of all...
Could you explain how DDoS works? It's when a whole bunch of computers all type in tracer T, and then they put an IP address, and they shut it down. They shut it down, baby.
Is kind of like, I don't know, left-wing liberal downplaying of Islamic extremist terrorists.
You don't need to convince me that.
I have to virtue signal, though. I know about you. Yes. So all that put to the side. So the news is that at Columbia, this one student who maybe is a ringleader of some kind, I'm not 100% clear on the amount of his participation. It's something we'll talk about, and I'm sure we'll play around with some hypotheticals. But that he had a role in the protests either that occurred, a lot of which got out of control, some of which I would say are plausibly called insurrections. We had those conversations before as well, and which obviously are a source of, with this administration, which is, I think, takes a very, very pro-Israel stance. We were just waiting for other shoes to drop. They've already dropped funding, like $400 million or so from Columbia's funding, and now they're taking more direct action vis-a-vis immigration for students on certain types of visas. And what's most controversial about this instance is they're purporting to rescind green cards on the basis of support for Hamas.
Now, so it's not just a visa; it's a green card.
Right. It's it's for lawful permanent residence, and a green card is it's not a legal term, but it's referring to what it used to look like, the actual
a legal permanent resident.
Correct. Yeah, an LPR. And so those individuals, according to the Secretary of State, who there are a lot of different actors in Constellation that affect immigration. The Department of Justice oversees the Executive Office for Immigration Review, so the Attorney General sits at the head of an agency that kind of oversees a lot of defensive immigration stuff, passes rules and regulations. Obviously, Department of Homeland Security, they're in charge of the three main organizations that are specific to immigration, Customs and Border Protection, USCIS, and ICE. And then you have the Department of State, which Marco Rubio heads, which obviously also has involvement vis-a-vis consular processing of visas from abroad and just interactions with other states and obviously like foreign terrorist organizations. And so it would make sense for Marco Rubio to announce a policy of the administration with respect to this shift, which is, as I just stated, anyone who voices support for Hamas or who supports Hamas in Marco Rubio's terms, and we can pull up the tweet, is going to have their green card rescinded.
Right. Now, if now it's important, because if he says voices support for Hamas, he said anyone who voices support for Hamas, it would be a lot.
Let me pull up the
clearer.
tweets so that I am not misquoting him. Yeah. You and me, we love specifics, so let's not start.
Dustin said Elon doesn't know what a DDoS is, but when asked about it, he gives some meme response. DDoS stands for Distributed Denial of Service Attack. What that means is that a whole bunch of people are spamming F5 on X over and over and over again until it can't load because they're distributing their F5s all over their computer keyboards, and the website goes down.
Go ahead, sorry.
Supporters, Hamas supporters.
Right.
We wrote him using Hamas supporters in America so they can be deported. And he didn't say any Hamas supporters. He just said it was under the quantification was underspecified, and he didn't say it's voice support. He said Hamas supporters. So right. Pretty vague.
Pretty vague, and I'll let you talk. Sorry. Vagueness is a specific and a special concern for First Amendment issues because of a fear of chilling speech, and precisely one of the reasons why, for example, we might take issue on First Amendment grounds for a broad law that may be lawful in some applications, but it's construed enough, or there's enough, discretion in there that it could affect lawful speech. We might, view that with more suspicion or scrutiny because First Amendment have these kind of special concerns with chilling lawful speech, and so that's why vagueness, even constitutionally, is recognized as a particular problem with respect to the First Amendment.
Right, and just for me, when you is there like a specific definition for chilling speech?
I think that definition would be to disincentivize lawful speech on the basis of another. I don't know if it would be otherwise legal, but just chilling lawful speech. I think. Oh, sorry, that's circular. Disincentivizing lawful speech.
Okay, so basically the vagueness is being used to because it may capture some instances of unlawful speech.
Yeah.
The concern is that the vagueness would also capture instances of lawful speech as a means of disincentivizing.
Correct, and just to be clear, I'm highlighting that as a potential concern. Right now we're a little bit in the dark, and so because we don't necessarily have like a full-throated policy, I imagine maybe we'll see like a memo somewhere or some kind of enforcement guidelines or maybe even an executive action which specifies with greater clarity what's going on, and that we can examine with a fine-tooth comb. But I'm just raising vague.
Somebody said, claiming responsibility for famous attacks isn't good enough evidence in my book, but haven't really looked into these specific claims. I think generally when groups are claiming evidence of an attack, I think generally that's them that did it. Because if you start claiming that you did things and you didn't do the thing, you lose all of your credibility basically instantly. And if somebody else did do the thing, they can just come out and claim it. I think generally that's pretty reliable, I think, as far as I'm aware.
Vagueness as a particular concern when it comes to First Amendment issues.
Right, understood. Okay, yeah. So, because I mean, when I started learning about this and this individual, my first initial take was that, like, if you just want to tag this guy with a crime and deport him, it shouldn't be that hard. I mean, he clearly violated certain laws. Just charge him with any one of those things and revoke whatever you revoke on the basis of that, or something, however it works.
There's a reason why they want to do that.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. But they could do that. I mean, it's pretty clear that at the minimum he trespassed.
So the criminal bases. So one of the difficulties with the crime stuff is, so there's these two different lines when it comes to immigration for people in.
Sorry, fuck. Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. Just a real quick thing, because I don't know who's trolling or who's not trolling in chat. Okay, part of the thing with a DDoS attack, okay, if it's distributed, okay, just because a machine is involved in a DDoS attack doesn't necessarily say anything about who's behind the DDoS attack. Oftentimes, these types of attacks could, in some cases, be using a large number of compromised systems, and then those systems are being coordinated to, in some way, bring down another system, or at least exhaust all of its resources to the point to where that system is inaccessible for legitimate traffic, for good traffic. So to say that, like, oh, I know that the attacker is from this country because when I got DDoSed, I saw IP addresses from that country, is one of the most fucking retarded things you could ever fucking say about a DDoS attack. Definitionally, that would be fucking retarded. Depending on the type of attack and depending on the amount of traffic the attack is generating, this could literally have IP addresses from every single country on the planet. It's just an unbelievably fucking retarded thing to say.
Different postures. So people who are presenting themselves for inspection and admission are judged under criteria known as inadmissibility standards. So when you're presenting yourself at a border of entry, and sometimes this is extended to kind of situations where you cross the border illegally, and we have this kind of like pretend situation where you're presenting yourself for being admitted, even though you are technically still in the country. But there's specific grounds for inadmissibility that could lead to your deportation under the grounds of inadmissibility. And people who have already been inspected and admitted, such as green card holders, they're subject to a different set of standards called deportability. They overlap a lot. This is a nuance I'm providing for you. It actually is relevant in this case. But
because it's not a visa, it's green card. So just quick question: would inadmissibility apply to visas but not green cards, but then deportability apply to green cards but not visas?
No, it's a little bit more nuanced than that. So green card grounds for inadmissibility apply to people who have not been inspected and admitted into the country. So if you're example,
okay, so both visas and green cards.
Yeah. So and there are certain conditions under which returning green card holders can also be subject to the grounds for inadmissibility. But basically, you can think of the grounds of inadmissibility generally applying to individuals who are presenting themselves at a border to get into the country. It usually excludes green card holders, who are usually always subject to the deportability grounds, except for certain cases where you're abroad. There are a lot of complications and nuances here, but think of the inadmissibility grounds generally as applying to you coming into the country or constructively coming into the country if you cross the border illegally within the country, and then the grounds of deportability for people who have already been cleared as an initial matter. So you can, if you're a tourist visa and you've been inspected and admitted, there might be grounds for deportability of you once you've, let's say, extended beyond your visa stay, but you'll be subject to the grounds of deportability in general with a lot of caveats that I don't have time to get into every one of them, but I'll tell you why those nuances matter in a second. But needless to say,
the criteria presumably.
Imagine the big joke of all this. X did not have Cloudflare's DDoS protection. What a shit to decide. I mean, don't they? I think they do, right? Cloudflare can get overwhelmed at times as well. It's not impossible.
More broad or more criteria more liberal on inadmissibility than deportability.
Typically, yes. But as with everything, it's complicated. Sometimes there are certain grounds that are more liberal or more broad in deportability. But in general, yes, the grounds for inadmissibility are broader, and you'd rather be in the deportability world. One of the ways in which it's broader, I'll just give you an example, is the criminal grounds of inadmissibility and the criminal grounds of deportability. The criminal grounds of inadmissibility do not require a criminal conviction. It requires either you to have a criminal conviction or to admit to the crime. So there's an important caveat: admit to the crime or admit to the essential elements of the crime. So that's one way in which it's broader, right? Because you wouldn't have to be
you don't need a court
exactly.
Gotcha.
Whereas the grounds of criminal deportability, you're going to need a conviction. It's not enough for you to have an allegation or for you even to admit to the essential elements of the crime, even as an admission, for you to be subject to the criminal ground of deportability. If, let's, for example, you're a green card holder. So that's one area in which that nuance matters. But it's all to say that even with the criminal grounds of inadmissibility, there's a showing that has to be done, and you're subject to certain rights and procedures. If you're, for example, being charged as removable, let's say charged as inadmissible.
People are saying they did. There's a source here. Exit by massive cyberattack. They don't use Cloudflare, or they weren't using Cloudflare. Well, hold on. It says the Darkstorm hacktivist group claims to be behind DDoS attacks, causing multiple X worldwide outages on Monday, leading the company to enable DDoS protections from Cloudflare. It could have been that they were using Cloudflare, but there are certain protections or services they didn't have turned on. Maybe, I don't know.
Or charged as deportable. The burden of proof is on the government. Burden of proof is on the government to show that you are removable as charged, and that's true both for deportability and inadmissibility, and it applies at its height to people with green cards.
Okay, so it's still the burden of proof on the government, even if you're coming into the country and you want to do inadmissibility.
Yes,
it's not the other way.
Yes, you can think of once you're not in the country, there's probably different spheres of rights. There is actually some ambiguity about when your rights start. If you come to the border without presenting any papers or without having any ground to enter the country, there are more summary procedures known as expedited removal procedures. But there's also wholesale, right now Trump has stopped all asylum across the southern border for people who aren't at a port of entry. And so that is a summary removal that's even beyond the scope of expedited removal under the law. But in general, yes, the burden of proof is going to be on the government to show that you are removable as inadmissible. You could think of maybe there's a difference in terms of someone at the border being rejected as opposed to someone being removed. And so you might not have to go through all the procedures to just turn them away, as opposed to once they're in the country, pushing them out, if that makes sense. So yeah.
Yes. So in this case, the government essentially they would have to show, I guess we get into that. They would have to show some sort of criminal activity, burden of proof being on them, like a conviction, crime of moral turpitude or something.
CIMT is crime involving moral turpitude.
And what is that subset of crime? When
it's probably that's probably going to be bad felonies would be my guess, right?
What are crimes not of moral turpitude?
So there's a deal of case law that right now, as I sit here, I don't have a perfect command of, but crimes involving moral turpitude, it really goes, it's kind of this standard that has to be interpreted through case law over time. But things you might think of theft, robbery, murder, assault type crimes, those are typically going to be CIMTs. Things that are more, maybe there's a technical criminal violation for you to turn right on red or something.
I have little networking knowledge, but how is it even possible to protect from a DDoS if they are all from different IPs / different countries and each botnet has different behaviors from another? DDoSing today and protections from it are incredibly sophisticated things. I wouldn't be able to explain it all to you. But I mean, all of it at the end of the day is going to come down to pattern recognition and then denying traffic that appears to exhibit a certain pattern of behavior, right? Yeah. That's basically it. You're employing basically mechanisms to try to identify who you think is a legitimate user versus who's not a legitimate user. So if a website is being DDoSed or if it's got a bunch of bad traffic, sometimes you'll see that Cloudflare is seeing if you're a verified user popping up. I don't know if they're checking cookies or just browser mouse behavior or what, but they're just running through things to make sure that you're not in the same pattern as whatever the perceived DDoS is. Jesus.
Wouldn't imagine that's a crime involving moral turpitude, you know. But I don't have a full command of that. But you can look up.
Because I guess the question here in this case as it relates to because at minimum he clearly was trespassing. So would that fall under crime of moral turpitude, or at least
I don't think that a mere criminal trespass would suffice probably as a CIMT. Maybe it could count as a burglary if he's like in Colombia with intention to do another felony in there. But then you need to show the other kind of underlying felony. If he's maybe directing people to do other crimes or is in a conspiracy to deprive Colombia of access permanently or for some period of time.
If they were in the bottom, like take over one of the buildings or something.
Right. Yeah. But then the reason I have such a big problem with that, the issue wouldn't be removing their green card because they support Hamas. It would be removing them because they did a crime. And then I'm like, okay, I expect Biden to be removing people or rescinding their benefits or making them deportable on the basis of their criminal activity. That's fine with me.
Of course. And so when I first, and that's getting back to when I first saw this, I'm like, okay, well, wait a minute. So why are they going for this broader thing now? Because if the goal was just him, I mean, the goal is obviously more than just him, because if the goal is just him, I think it would be rather easy to make the case that he committed a crime of moral turpitude and just go through whatever process, and they probably would get the conviction they're looking for.
But that's what they want to do is they want to chill dissent and people who are angry at the state of situation in Israel. And so just like with the money situation, just like what they're doing with DEI, what they're doing.
Anybody who pretends otherwise is not a good faith actor. Anybody here that thinks it's just, oh, well, the administration is making sure they're keeping our country safe by enforcing our laws. No, bullshit. It's because of what they're protesting, why they want to get rid of them.
Doing is they're doing select enforcement actions and announcing broad sweeping policies with the hope, as they have been successful with DEI and they're going to be successful here, to make people be scared to protest against the administration or against the Israel's actions. I think that's what's going on here. And so it's not, I don't take them at good faith if they're just trying to apply, because if they really were worried about this one individual and what a danger he is, then they would charge him with a CIMT. They might not even have, the federal government might have jurisdiction, so it might be out of their hands, might be up to this, New York State, in which case you're screwed. That's just a law. But yeah, that's
okay. I see. But I guess any crimes related to terrorism would be in the federal government's.
True. Another additional complication. There are specific subsets for terrorism-linked conduct that are their own thing as well. But usually they apply to you when you're abroad or you're in some way. And I guess this will kind of ground out into the same kind of First Amendment analysis in a way. If you're like conspiring with or communicating with a foreign terrorist organization or giving material benefit, let's say, to a foreign terrorist organization. Yes. Those are situations in which there could be additional grounds beyond the criminal grounds of admissibility and deportability, terrorism-related grounds of admissibility and deportability. But it's the same issue, which is if that's at issue, then it's up to the government to, in my opinion, and maybe that's what they're doing, right? They've arrested him. I'm assuming they're going to charge him as removable. The burden is going to be on them to show that. And so maybe there is some smoking gun for this one kid, but that's not what Rubio said. And
this all could have been prevented if people actually cared and stopped what was happening at Colombia. Dems didn't care and even endorsed it. Were Biden and Kamala endorsing what was happening at the protest? I don't remember. Dems could have taken a firmer stance against it, but none of that justifies what the Trump admin is doing now. That's unhinged.
What Rubio is implying is, if you are a supporter, or at least he's leaving open as a possibility.
Yes, it's the connotation and the denotation. Because the only way I could really make sense of the denotation is by supporters, that he would be talking about conditions that meet the criteria of material support to terrorist to foreign terrorist organizations.
That would be something under current law that might be acceptable. But
yes, with the Holder versus Humanitarian Law Project in 2010, that would be the case.
Yeah, but there, right? Like you'd have to show that there's some kind of connection between it can't be independent advocacy. In other words, it would have to be, you have to show at least some amount of communication or coordination separate and apart from independent advocacy. Now, you might ask the question, how independent do we mean by independent? In my opinion, what it should be, and what I read the court as saying in Holder is coordination on the level of communication between those. I mean, what was being proposed there was really organizations that wanted to talk to the PKK and some other group, and that wanted to interface with the PKK, and specifically to tailor their advocacy in conjunction with the PKK. And they were very clear, like no one is talking about stifling any kind of independent advocacy, independent stuff. So if this guy never talked to anyone in Hamas or who he thought was in Hamas, if all he's doing is taking Hamas's cues, I think he's doing no more nor less than what like all these Russian bots are doing on Twitter when they're taking Putin's line. The president's doing.
So it wouldn't cover mere. Well, I think we would be both in agreement that Holder wouldn't cover mere abstract cheerleading for Hamas.
Correct. I think use the term independent advocacy, which is to suggest.
Independent advocacy. Sure. So you can say, so for example, if someone is basically doing what I commonly do on Twitter, which is look at data about misinformation against Israel and debunk it or whatever. If someone's like doing that independently in favor of Hamas, that wouldn't, even though that is benefiting them in some sense, which
100%, just like Tim Pool is benefiting Russia.
Yes.
If you look,
Right. But they are not. Exactly. But they're not providing. It wouldn't constitute the mere independent advocacy is not the sort of thing that would constitute and independent. That would not constitute material support to a foreign terrorist organization.
In the way that was at issue at in Holder. Yeah, I think that's right, and I think that's like I'm even okay with some of these lines. Like I'm okay with I'm not so sure how much that framework would work within the United States itself. I think that I would be very skeptical of someone trying to apply that, for example, to the KKK. Right? Let's say that the United States says in America the KKK is a designated terrorist organization, and so you can't provide any legal advice to the KKK within the United States. Right? That to me would raise a bunch of issues that I'm not sure. Just as this is my intuition or my ethics, I guess, but also my intuition about what the law is. I think that there's less First Amendment rights, and I would say no First Amendment rights for foreign organizations. And so I am happy to.
So yeah, because they said
careful, TikTok ByteDance or ByteDance, right?
Foreign terrorist organization, right. But the KKK wouldn't be a foreign terrorist
organization. Yeah, so I'm okay having that line as being a kind of bright line, and I'm okay even with somewhat. I mean, some aspects of the Holder decision trouble me a little bit, but I'm okay with there being like, okay, we've designated these organizations as so bad that any support to them, money's fungible, any support for them is unacceptable. So you can't interface with them in any respect. And it's kind of what we do with Russian sanctions, right? We say you can't do business with the state of Russia or its oligarchs because of their invasion of Ukraine. And in principle, I don't have that much of a problem with that. But I think the connection to that organization.
Hold on. What is this? Really straightforward why Mahmoud Khalil is getting deported. You don't get to endorse or espouse terrorist activity as a non-citizen, even if you have a green card. Bye-bye. Terrorist activity. Security-related grounds in general. Any alien who is described in subparagraph B or F of section 1182A3 of this title is deportable. If you're a lawful permanent resident, are you still considered an alien? Let me check real quick. We can see this. Okay, any alien who's described in subparagraph B or F of section 1182A3, section 1182A, or what is it in the U.S. Code? Is he reading an older thing? Any alien who is just subparagraph B or F. Okay, so this is for 1227. Okay, here we go. Okay, deportable aliens. Any alien, including an alien crewman. Smuggling, okay. Criminal offenses. Okay, so we're down here at security-related grounds. Any alien who is engaged, or at any time after admission engages in any activity to violate any law of the United States related to espionage or sabotage, any other criminal activity which endangers public safety or national security, or any activity a purpose of which is the opposition to or the control or overthrow of the government of the United States by force, violence, or other unlawful means. I wonder if there are any green card holders in the J6 group. Any alien who is described in subparagraph B or F of section 1182A3. A. And 1, 2, 3. Is it this? Oh wait, in subparagraph B or F. My bad. Jesus fucking Christ. Lawful permanent resident, USA. What does the website say? Are aliens who are lawfully authorized to live permanently within the United States. Okay, so they are still considered aliens. Okay. Any alien who's described in some groups or on the titles deportable. Endorses or espouses terrorist activity. Or persuades others to endorse or espouse terrorist activity or support a terrorist organization. Has received military type training. That probably hasn't happened. And the seizing or detaining and threatening to kill, injure, or continue to detain another individual in order to compel a third party or third person, including a governmental organization, to do. Did they seize or detain? Were they taking hostages? I'm curious what removals have ever happened under this. Endorses or espouses terrorist activity or persuades others to endorse or espouse terrorist activity or support a terrorist organization. I wonder what this looks like. Like, I wonder what enforcement actions look like here. This is for inadmissibility and not deportability. Are you sure? Because, hold on. This is citing to... this is for deportable. We're looking at this. 8 U.S.C. 1227 is for deportable aliens. Any alien who is described in subparagraph B or F of this section, 1182A3. Okay, 1182A 1, 2, 3. Wait, oh my fucking god, I'm gonna kill myself. Okay, and then B or F of A. Okay. Does it have to be this and the other thing? This is AIDS. This is actual fucking AIDS. Terrorist activities. Or F. Like, I wish you could expand or collapse these categories. Any alien who the Secretary of State, after consultation with the Attorney General or the AG, determines has been associated with a terrorist organization and intends on the U.S. to engage solely, principally, or incidentally in activities that could endanger the welfare, safety. Okay, so Jesus. Okay, what is this a part of? Espouses terrorist activity. Wait a second. I don't think this is deportable. Oh, no, wait. It is. Hold on, I understand. It's deportable. Okay. Okay, Jesus, yeah. Okay, it would be theoretically. But I'm curious what deportation action has looked like before for stuff like this. Like, is there a history of this ever happening?
The direct connection between the person, who's uttering that phrase or the slogan or whatever, that matters to me, because once that goes away, really, like, Trump ran on a lack of orthodoxy with a lot of foreign policy decisions and is currently operating outside of an orthodoxy that existed pre-Trump and with respect to his allies and the different alliances. And so yeah, I think that's just, it's making a rod for our own back, in that everyone's going to think that domestic people are in hawk with some foreign organization, or that they know better over who's a terrorist, who's not a terrorist. And at that point, it just becomes, anyone can silence anyone based on a change in administration, and that I don't like.
So I think in this case, at least my understanding was that what was said was that he led. What was the exact quote? That he was aligned, activities aligned with. What was it? He led activities aligned to Hamas, is what they're saying. They arrested him for. Now I don't know what aligned. They're going to have to really specify aligned. Like, does that mean he just cheerleaded for Hamas? Does that mean he just advocated for Hamas, or does that mean that something works? So
it's Pisco wrong right now. Okay, sorry. Let me listen again. Hold on. Fuck Jesus.
Orthodoxy that existed pre-Trump and with respect to his allies and the different alliances. And so yeah, I think that's just, it's making a rod for our own back, in that everyone's going to think that domestic people are in hawk with some foreign organization, or that they know better over who's a terrorist, who's not a terrorist. And at that point, it just becomes, anyone can silence anyone based on a change in administration, and that I don't like.
So I think in this case, at least
about his stuff that he said earlier, I'm not sure. I'm too lazy to go back and listen. I don't know.
My understanding was that what was said was that he led. What was the exact quote? That he was aligned. Activities aligned with. What was it? He led activities aligned to Hamas, is what they're saying. They arrested him for. Now I don't know what aligned. They're going to have to really specify aligned. Like, does that mean he just cheerleaded for Hamas? Does that mean he just advocated for Hamas, or does that mean that something works you could dial in material support to? And what I've been seeing is those official Hamas pamphlets. I don't know if you've seen those.
I haven't seen them.
Yeah, I can show you them. Because they're I can. This was.
But people share like Russian documents, or let's say RT is a Russian affiliated entity. People will share RT news broadcasts or little clips from it. That's what RT wants to show to the world.
But RT, Russia isn't a designated terrorist entity, are they? In the U.S., I don't think so.
Now, if RT's telling them to do it, right? That's one thing. But if
right. No, I understand that there's going to be issues of like how far one's interpretation of fungibility and providing material support to a terrorist organization goes. Just to show you the official pamphlets I'm sending you in DMs that were that were distributed. So these are these are like they're not just like individually made pamphlets. Like, these are actually the Hamas official media office pamphlets.
Yeah, I mean, it's despicable. It's despicable to, but
No, the point. I know you think. No, we both are going to agree there. But the question is, like, once it gets to the line of like, okay, well, this is not just you are distributing. Or the event you're leading is distributing, which you presumably, or you could make the case, or presumably they're going to try to make the case that he was connected to this as the leader. It's not just that he is independently advocating, but now that they have like official Hamas pamphlets that they're distributing, they're going to. So okay, well, we'll go through several scenarios. Yeah. So scenario one is that there is an element of coordination between Hamas. In some way, either through Qatar or through some other mediary to this group, and that's how they're distributing the official Hamas pamphlets. And I think in most cases, I think there's going to be agreement that that's going to fall under
material support,
underholder material support. Yes.
Yeah, I think I would grant that if they're in coordination with Hamas, I think America's well within its rights to make that a basis of deportability. And I don't think I'd have a problem with that on a First Amendment issue.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, I think you'd have to, if you're being fair, then that would be valid grounds for deportation. However, even if it comes out that that was the case, that doesn't make the action right now okay, because the Trump administration has not alleged any of that. They just said that he was at this protest for this group, that the United States is designated a terrorist, so we can revoke their green card and ship them out of the country, which is, in my opinion, wild.
Right. We did with the Communist Party. By the way, there was laws like that. They're disfavored, but still on the books. In some of these adjustment of status papers or affirmative applications that you might give to immigration, you have to say whether or not you've been part of the Nazi Party or the Communist Party. That those are actually questions that they'll still ask you. And I've had clients before be like, "Why are you asking this?"
They ask you that, right?
What's that?
Did they ask you that when you apply for a visa? I think they ask you all sorts of questions.
Yeah, they ask you like, "Are you affiliated with the Nazi Party that existed and controlled the German government?" And they'll ask you whether or not you're affiliated with the Communist Party of the Soviet Union.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so and just because coordination doesn't have to mean like you're an agent, like you're an actual Hamas member. So like it could be like Hamas like contracted someone in Qatar.
I would agree with that. I think that it wouldn't require an agency relationship.
Right. So if that was going through an intermediary channel to these protesters or organizations,
it would have to be knowing though. So whoever's being
yeah, they would have to know that eventually. Like, okay, well, I know this guy's not Hamas, but I kind of know he's affiliated with. Yeah. I know who they're friends with. Sure. Okay. That I don't think is much. I think where and I don't think there's going to be much disagreement on if it's all the way the other way. So for example, if this is just something that was done out of independent advocacy, that without the knowledge of this providing fungible support to the terrorist organization, then it wouldn't fall under Holder.
because you have to, even if without coordination, at the interesting part we can get to about without coordination, but with intent and with knowledge of fungible support, of material support to the organization, in virtue of the fungibility of currency.
Right, yeah. Although that connection to the terrorist activities isn't even as important under Holder. So as long as you know that it's a terrorist organization, I think, and I think that most people there, if you would understand, right? At least terrorism as the word is used.
You know it's a terrorist organization, and you know that your actions are providing a material support to the terrorist organization, and you are intending to do that anyway.
Yes, I agree that those. I see there are three different predicates. So one is the knowledge that it's an organization that's been labeled terrorist by the government, and the intent.
It's a designated terrorist organization. You have to know that.
The intent with respect or knowledge with respect to the material support, and then the coordination. So I see those as kind of three distinct elements that are necessary.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So I agree that if the last two. So if the last two are absent, I don't think there's going to be much disagreement that it would not fall under Holder. So if you have the knowledge of a designated terrorist organization, but you don't have the other two, so you don't have coordination, you don't have the intent to do those things, then it wouldn't fall under Holder. I think the interesting debate where I can see this going to a Supreme Court case is if you have the first two but not the last. So if you have the knowledge that it's a designated terrorist organization and you have the intent, no, you don't have the coordination, but you do have the intent to provide material support to the terrorist organization, and you are providing material support to the organization, and you know you're providing material support to the terrorist organization, then that's an interesting case to go to the Supreme Court and say, okay, well, does this fall under Holder? And would this be something? If you were actually
go ahead, sir.
Yeah. So, for example, if you are saying, okay, Hamas has to invest, and this is just my mere advocacy. I know that Hamas distributing these pamphlets, their official pamphlets, cost them money. I want to alleviate. I'm going to alleviate whatever they can, and so they could use their money for other terrorist activities instead of doing this. So I'm going to do that for them. I'm going to help them out. So I'm going to be their distributor. I'm not going to do that with their explicit coordination. I'm not going to, I'm just going to do them a favor. I'm going to, I can, just like you can donate money, like you can, I don't have to coordinate. I could just send you an anonymous tip or whatever.
Yeah, I would think that my hope is that you would not be okay with that. Whether it's interesting or not, I think that we haven't squarely faced that, and I don't think Holder says like we're not reaching this kind of speech, independent advocacy. So what we're talking about is whether or not it would cover truly independent advocacy of covered institutions for covered purposes, right? The material support.
One of your biggest issues right now, by the way, with this whole conversation. Also, okay, I thought this was going to be like an unhinged Avi take, and I would have to hate Avi forever. But it sounds like Avi's trying to make this make sense within like the current understanding of the law and everything. I don't know if I hate it as much, unless he's got like some crazy unhinged opinions later. But one of your big issues that you're getting into here is that it used to be that your non-state actors were like literally terrorist groups. Right, like small itty bitty terrorist groups, or they're not state actors. But the problem we're running into in today's world, I would argue, probably Al Qaeda. Did Al Qaeda have swaths of land, or was that just them kind of like being taken care of by the Taliban? I would say like from the 2000 onwards, we start running into this weird territory, metaphorical territory, where non-state actors are starting to control non-metaphorical territory, actual territory. So you run into this weird world where like, should anybody ever be supporting a terrorist group? Well, probably not. Like, do we want to make laws against it for classes of citizens to do that? Yeah, I mean, like for actual terrorist groups, I mean, like I can see the arguments there. But an issue you run into is when these terrorist groups start to become de facto governments or de jure governments, actual governments of places. Now you're in a really weird world, right? I hate Hamas. I think if you want to call Hamas terrorist or whatever, that's fine. But if we think about like a terrorist designation, well, Hamas is the governing body of the Gaza Strip. So does that mean that theoretically almost any support any citizen could show or lawful permanent resident could show for the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip basically involves the support of a terrorist organization? Like that's very strange, right? When non-state actors begin to hold huge swaths of territory or are administrators to territory, it's just a very weird world to be in, you know?
Wait, when we say independent, so what I'm doing is I'm trying to
isolate the coordination.
Yeah, distinguish two forms of like, I don't know how we're defining independent advocacy here, but I'm trying to distinguish different forms of that, which some may or may not.
When I'm saying independent advocacy, what I mean is that there's no coordination. So I would.
Oh, okay, fine.
Yep.
So what I'm doing, yes, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm trying to disarticulate different forms of independent advocacy, and the question would be whether there is a subset of.
Does Trump think that he can just like command the markets? Like, does he think he's like a fucking wizard? The stock markets are literally crashing. There's no reason for this all self-inflicted. Oh fuck, this is an old tweet. Okay, when you guys link old shit, you're getting nuked. Stop linking old shit. Retarded. Stop.
advocacy that would still fall under holder.
Right.
There may be the most egregious forms of independent advocacy may fall under holder, for example.
And they cannot be themselves other categories of unlawful speech. So, for example, incitement is its own category of unlawful speech.
Right.
You know, so
yeah, it's nonviolent. It's nonviolent. Yeah, it's going to be a nonviolent. It's not going to be another category. Yes. But it's going to be like one of those egregious examples. Like you are, you're really doing something that is benefiting. So, I mean, just as a hypothetical, let's just say that you're not in coordination with terrorist organization, but your advocacy is not just mere like your intellectual ideas, but you are really providing them with a financial break, sort of say. Like, let's say I was really just running the terrorist organization's pamphlet distribution service, for example, and I was doing it without their coordination. I'm just doing this for them. Like, I'm just printing out a whole bunch of Hamas official pamphlets, and some of them may even have like
I basically think that that's how 95% of the online right operates with respect to Russia. That's basically what I think.
True.
And so I totally get the consternation.
Just elaborate on that so everyone knows like why.
Yeah. So
I'm not saying I disagree. I'm not saying that. I want to know why.
So even the Mueller report back in the day did not establish that there was a conspiracy between Trump and Russia. They didn't have facts to establish a conspiracy. But everyone who watches Trump or his surrogates kind of knows that they're taking the line from Moscow, or they at least hear the same exact thing, and it would be indistinguishable to what a true Russian agent might do with respect to media operations and like they're basically doing a lot of Putin's job with respect to spreading these false narratives, and I'm sure alleviating a lot of otherwise costly intelligence operations in America in a way that's invaluable to the Russian state. So that's what.
Just as a quick point. So I see what you're saying in terms of the quality, but I think we both agree that Russia's not a designated foreign terrorist organization.
Correct. Right. But let's be careful here. So I agree that they would not be covered by that specific law, but the First Amendment principle would at least be as elastic to cover foreign nations with which the country is in an adversarial relationship. So I can imagine, for example, Congress passing a similar law that says we make these explicit findings with respect to the state of Russia or the state of China, and we find or the state of Iran.
So right? If this case, if Holder applies to foreign countries that the United States is, so if all the findings under Holder apply to that, then yes.
Right. So I think the First Amendment principle that we establish here, whether or not there's a direct statute on point that would literally prescribe, when I say prescribe, I mean criminalize the conduct in a similar way as the designated foreign terrorist statute, I want my First Amendment principle to stand up to the foreign country case, because I think it's actually probably even a stronger case to make from a, if you think about the founding, they weren't really concerned under the First Amendment, if you take an originalist perspective, they were concerned with foreign countries, they were concerned with Great Britain, they were concerned with France, they were concerned with all these European powers, and so any principle as applied to foreign terrorist organizations with respect to the First Amendment is going to hold just as strong with adversary countries that Congress and the President.
There's a court order, apparently a court is stopping the deportation. There you go.
And let's say make findings, and they say it's our finding that the state of Iran is a foreign, and actually Iran is designated as a foreign, as a supporter of foreign terrorism.
Sure. So going to the Republicans then. So elaborate on the thing with the Mueller report.
Yeah. So it stopped short of finding a direct coordinated effort in the sense of the Trump campaign actually talking to Russia in the sense of, hey, why don't you start releasing these emails that are about Hillary and about how the DNC fucked over Bernie and this and that at the same time that we do this, or that they had this kind of like direct meeting of the minds with specific Russian agents. The Mueller report did not find that. Notwithstanding the fact that they did not find that explicit coordination, I
Where
find
do the indictments for Roger Stone come from then?
The Putin talking points, and that he's parroting sympathetic as though he were in charge of RT, as though he were an operative of the Putin talking point seminar, whatever that is. And even assume for a second that Trump was actually literally reading RT and just directly reading verbatim the RT talking points that Russia puts out from the prompter. Even in
let's say Trump was giving out pamphlets like the Hamas pamphlet. Like let's say Trump was like and he wasn't coordinating. They didn't find coordination, but he was distributing Putin pamphlets, and some of them may have even had like recruitment. Like offers. Be like, oh, you want to join the Russian army and fight Ukraine? Like here's where you sign up.
Yeah, I think. Well, I think if you're literally inciting, and I don't actually think this is true under Holder, that membership in those organizations was criminal. I don't know that I actually think it wasn't. So I don't know that it's tested that your mere membership in a foreign terrorist organization is illegal or criminal. I'm not sure that that's the case, but supposing it were, I could imagine it actually being a problem for you to like incite people to do it.
Right. That's interesting because then it falls under incitement.
Right.
So let's just say that it would. Yeah. So let's say it wouldn't be the mere membership wouldn't be incitement, because you can be a member without actually. You can be a nonviolent member. It's possible.
Yep.
Okay. So let's say that Trump were doing that sort of thing. He was saying, okay, well, here's where you could sign up. Here's these pamphlets. So number one, I'm distributing them on behalf of Russia. So whatever cost that they would have had to do, I'm actually doing this on my dime or my company's dime, the U.S.'s dime.
We just love what Russia's doing.
Yeah. So they're doing it. Wait, what?
I think that you're fucked. Like not you personally, but in terms of anyone who wants to criminalize or prescribe that conduct, they're just out of luck.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So that's the sort of thing. Yeah. And then the question, for example, I added in the condition that
is on in terms of.
So I think they're going to just to be clear, I think they're targeting. I don't think it's a question about why they're targeting.
Super important. There's a question here from.
Okay, this take too long. We got other stuff to watch. We got Asmongold to get mad at. What is this?
They had me back. Maybe that's what it was. Yeah, DEI administration, let's go. Yeah, sorry, guys. We'll try to invade you as soon as possible, okay? It might take us a little while to, you know, to come up with a justification, but we'll figure it out. Yeah, why you look like Bush, though? Does he look like Bush? I see what you mean, but not really. And, let's see, what's this?
Lots of media.
Friendly media.
No, I do. No, God, no.
The ones that are here invited.
Look, I'm doing no media at this one.
Can we sit down and I'll make a time with you? And
We can't see. Wait, could you not see that entire time? What the fuck, guys?